The night was quiet, but inside her heart there was only noise. She was tall, taller than most of her kind, her body broad and strong like the pillars of stone her people carved. Yet to her people this was not a blessing. It was a curse. From childhood, they whispered behind her back. They said she was too big, too heavy, not soft enough, not gentle enough. Not breeding material, they laughed. Not fit for a family. Those words had followed her all her life like shadows she could not escape. She tried to be useful. She worked hard in the fields. She carried loads no other woman could carry. She kept her head down and spoke little. But inside she was breaking. Piece by piece on this night, she sat by the river outside the settlement. The stars above seemed endless, but to her they only reminded her how small she felt inside. Her hands gripped her knees tightly. She wanted to scream, but only tears rolled down her face. Then came the sound of footsteps. Light, careful footsteps that did not belong to her people. She turned her head and there he was, the human. He had come to live among them some months ago. Quiet, polite, always working with his hands. The others mocked him too because he was smaller than them, but he did not mind. He smiled, he listened. He helped anyone who asked, and tonight he stood near her, his face lit by the moon. He did not say anything at first, he only looked at her, his eyes calm, waiting. She wanted to tell him to go away, but her chest was too heavy. Her throat burned with all the words she had never spoken, and suddenly the wall inside her cracked. My body is too big, human, she whispered. Her voice shook like dry leaves in the wind. I am not breeding material, not like the other women. No one will ever want me. No one will ever love me. The words fell out like a confession she had buried for years. She thought he would laugh, like the others always laughed. She thought he would pity her. And then leave, but he did neither. The human stepped closer. His eyes did not move away from hers. For a moment the world was only silence, only the sound of water moving over stones, only the sound of her heart breaking again. Is that what they told? You? He asked gently. His voice was soft, but it carried strength. She turned her head away, ashamed. They tell me every day I am too much, too heavy, too different, even if I wished to give life. My body would fail. I am useless as a woman. Her hands trembled as she said it. Her chest rose and fell like she had run a great distance. She hated herself for speaking so openly, hated the tears in her eyes, but the human did not look at her with disgust. He did not step back. Instead, he moved closer, and for the first time, she felt the warmth of his hand resting on hers. His hand was so small compared to hers, but it was steady. You are not useless, he said. His words struck her heart like fire in the cold night. You are not broken, you are strong. I have seen you work harder than anyone. I have seen you carry pain and never let it show. That is not useless. That is courage. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. No one had ever spoken to her like this. No one had ever looked at her the way he was looking at her now, but still she shook her head. Even if I am strong, no man will claim me. They say no child will ever grow in me. That I was born wrong, do you understand? I am nothing. The human's brow tightened. His eyes grew darker, but not with anger at her, with anger at the cruelty she had suffered. You are not nothing, he said, each word slow, as if he wanted her to believe. You are more than they can see. If they are blind, let them stay blind, but I see you. Her breath caught. Her heart hammered painfully. She wanted to believe him, but the years of rejection were chains around her soul. She pressed her hands against her face, trying to hide the flood of tears. The human did something no one had ever done before. He did not laugh. He did not walk away. He did not try to silence her. Instead, he reached out and pulled her into his arms. For the first time in her life, she was held. Her body was so much larger than his, but he did not care. His arms were tight, his chest pressed to hers. She could feel his heartbeat. Calm, steady, sure. And for a brief moment, all the cruel voices in her head went silent. She cried into his shoulder, her tears soaking his shirt. She whispered again, her voice almost breaking. I am too big. I am not meant for love. The human lifted her chin with gentle fingers, so she would look at him. His voice was firm now. Then let me prove them wrong. Her breath stopped. Her eyes widened. Suspense filled the air between them like a storm about to break. For the first time, she felt that maybe, just maybe, her life would not end in loneliness. Maybe this human, strange and stubborn, would fight every shadow with her, and deep inside her chest, where sorrow had lived for so long, a small spark of hope began to burn. Morning light fell over the settlement, golden and sharp. But to her, daylight always meant the same thing. Eyes watching, mouths whispering, laughter hidden behind hands. She walked through the marketplace with her head low, a basket of food balanced easily in her strong arms. Her size made it effortless for her to carry weight, yet it was the very thing people mocked. There she goes. One voice whispered, "The giant one, too big for her own good." Another voice laughed, "She'll never have a mate, not with that body, not with that face." Children pointed, mothers pulled them close. Warriors smirked and made crude jokes, as if she were not a living being, as if she were only an object of shame. She had learned to keep silent, to let the words pass over her like wind against stone. But inside, each insult left scars deeper than anyone could see. Today was no different, until the human appeared beside her. He walked calmly, his steps sure, his eyes steady. He didn't look away from the stairs. He didn't slow when the whispers grew louder. Instead, he walked beside her as if he belonged there. Gasps rose from the crowd. Why is he walking with her? Someone hissed, "Doesn't he know she's cursed?" Another laughed. The sound grew like a wave crashing from all sides. People leaned out of their stalls to see. Heads turned. Whispers became open taunts. The alien woman felt her chest tighten. Fear twisted her stomach. She wanted to tell him to go, to leave her alone, for his sake, for hers. But the words would not come. She looked at him from the corner of her eye, expecting to see shame on his face, but he was calm, his lips set in a firm line, his eyes focused only forward, as if the crowd did not exist. One of the warriors stepped in front of them, a tall male with mocking eyes. He folded his arms and sneered, "Human, do you not see who you walk beside? She is worthless, a beast too large for any home. Are you blind?" The crowd chuckled, waiting for the human to step away, waiting for him to agree and save his pride. But the human did not move. He looked at the warrior with a calm expression and answered, "I see her, better than you ever could." Silence fell for a moment. The words cut through the noise like a blade. The warrior blinked, then barked a laugh. "Better than me? She is nothing. No man here would claim her. She is a failure of a woman." The alien woman felt heat burn in her cheeks. The words pierced her again. She lowered her head, shame rising like fire, but then she felt something. His hand brushing against hers. A small gesture, but strong, steady, refusing to let her fall into despair. The human spoke again, his voice louder this time. "If you think she is nothing, then maybe you are the blind one. I have seen her carry burdens none of you could lift. I have seen her endure your cruelty and still stand tall. Tell me, who is stronger, the one who mocks or the one who survives?" Gasps rippled through the crowd, some eyes widened, some mouths shut, but the warrior only snarled, anger flashing across his face. "You dare insult me for her sake?" he snapped. "You, fragile outsider, speak against your betters?" The human's gaze didn't waver. Strength is not only in the body, strength is in the heart, and in that she is greater than all of you. For the first time in her life, the alien woman felt the crowd's eyes shift. Not only on her, but on him, on the human who refused to back down. Whispers began again. But they were different this time. Some mocking, some uncertain, some even thoughtful. Why does he defend her? Does he really mean those words? Could she truly be more than what we think? Her chest trembled, she wanted to believe, but fear still chained her heart. If they turned against him, if they hurt him because of her, she would never forgive herself. The warrior stepped closer, his voice a growl. "You speak boldly, human, but words are cheap. If you want to stand by her, prove yourself. Show this crowd you are more than a fool who talks too much." Tension thickened in the air. The crowd leaned in, hungry for a show. The human's jaw tightened. His hand gently squeezed hers before letting go. His eyes held hers for a long moment, calm and certain. Then he turned to the warrior and said, "If that is what it takes, then I will." The alien woman's breath caught. Fear shot through her body. He was going to put himself in danger. For her. For someone who had never been worth protecting in the eyes of her people. Her heart pounded so loudly she could barely hear the noise of the crowd. In that moment, she realized something terrifying and beautiful. He was not going to leave her. Not now, not ever. And for the first time she wondered, what if love could survive the laughter of the crowd? Night fell heavy over the settlement. The fires burned low and most of the people were asleep. But inside her chest there was no peace, only the echo of cruel voices. All day she had heard them laugh. Their words still stung her ears. Still, cut her heart. She replayed the scene again and again. The warrior's mocking smile, the crowd's cruel whispers, the way the human had stood beside her. Her body was strong, but her spirit trembled. She walked out of the settlement quietly, leaving the walls behind. She found herself near the river again. The moonlight touched the water, silver and cold. She sat on the stones, hugging her knees to her chest. Her tears fell silently, one after another. She whispered into the dark, "Why am I like this? Why was I born wrong?" Her voice cracked. She tried to silence her sobs, but the sound escaped anyway. Her people's judgment pressed against her like iron chains. She wanted to be small, invisible, anything but herself. But then footsteps came again. Steady, quiet, familiar. She didn't have to look to know it was him, the human. He approached slowly, his shadow stretching long in the moonlight. He didn't speak at first. He only lowered himself to sit beside her, close enough that she felt his warmth. She turned her face away, hiding her wet cheeks. "Why do you keep coming to me?" she asked bitterly. Her voice was sharp but weak. "Do you not see what they say is true? I am too big, too different. I am not meant for love, not meant for family. I am only a joke." Her words hung heavy in the night air. She expected him to sigh, to finally give up, to walk away like everyone else, but he didn't. Instead, he spoke softly. "You are crying because you believe them, not because it is true." Her chest tightened, her hands trembled. She almost shouted back, "How can it not be true? They have always said it from the day I was a child. They told me I would never be chosen, never be wanted. Do you know what it is like to live a life where every eye looks at you with shame?" Her voice cracked, tears falling harder. She covered her face with her hands, ashamed to let him see her so broken. The human's hand reached out gently, resting on her arm. His touch was steady, grounding. "Yes," he said quietly. "I know. I too was mocked when I came here. They called me weak, too small. They said I could never survive in this place. I heard the whispers, I felt the stares." Her sobs slowed. She lowered her hands, looking at him through teary eyes. His face was calm, his gaze steady. "But," he continued, his voice firm now, "I did not let their voices decide who I am. I chose my own worth, and I see worth in you. Even if they never will." Her heart pounded painfully. His words slid into the cracks inside her, warming places she thought were forever frozen. Still, she shook her head. "But what if they are right? What if I cannot give what a woman should give? What if my body truly cannot bear children? Then what am I?" Her voice broke on the last words. The question had haunted her for years, the reason for her endless loneliness. The human turned to her. His eyes shone in the moonlight, serious and clear. "Then you are still someone who deserves love. You are still someone who deserves to be held, to be wanted, to be seen. Not because of what your body can or cannot do, but because of who you are." Her breath caught, her lips parted. But no. Sound came out. No one had ever said such words to her before. No one had ever cared for her heart. They only judged her size, her strength, her difference. And here was this human, smaller than her, weaker than her people, yet speaking with a courage none of them had. Her tears spilled again, but they were different now, softer, Warmer. Slowly, carefully, he moved closer. He wrapped his arms around her once more, pulling her into his chest. She resisted for only a moment before collapsing against him, sobbing freely. Her body shook as she wept. The sound of her grief echoed across the water, but his arms held firm. His hand rubbed her back gently, steady as stone. "It's all right," he whispered. "Cry if you must, but know this. When the tears end, I will still be here." She pressed her face into his shoulder, her heart a storm of sorrow and hope. Her people's voices still echoed, but softer now, fading under the warmth of his words. For the first time in her life, she felt safe in someone's arms. Not mocked, not judged, not rejected, just safe. The night stretched long. The stars wheeled. Above, her sobs slowly quieted until only small shivers remained. She lifted her head slightly, eyes red, face wet. "Why?" she whispered, her voice hoarse. "Why do you stay with me when everyone else laughs?" The human looked at her, his lips curved in a small, gentle smile. His eyes shone with something she had never seen directed at her before. Pure, honest care. "Because," he said simply, "I see beauty where others are too blind to look." Her heart stopped. Her breath froze in her throat. Those words pierced deeper than any insult, deeper than any laughter. And for a moment, the world seemed to still. She looked at him, truly looked at him, and she realized with a terrifying rush, this man could shatter every wall she had built around her heart. The next morning came heavy with whispers. The river still carried her. Tears from the night before. But inside her heart something small had changed. She had been held. She had been told she was not broken, and that fragile spark of hope refused to die. But hope was dangerous in her world. When she stepped into the settlement with the human by her side, the crowd's eyes followed. Louder than ever, voices rose like arrows. "Look at them, the giant, and the outsider. He should be ashamed. Does he not know what she is?" Her chest ached with shame. But the human walked steady, his presence like a shield beside her. Every step he took told the crowd that he would not leave. It did not take long for trouble to find them. From the center of the square, the clan leader appeared. A towering male with scars across his arms, his presence silenced the marketplace at once. All eyes turned to him. He was a warrior many feared. His words carried the weight of law. He stepped forward, glaring at the human. His voice thundered, "You dare walk with her? Do you not understand what you shame us with? She's not worthy of a mate. She's not worthy of standing beside a man." The alien woman's breath caught. The words stabbed her heart again. She wanted to beg the human to walk away before it was too late. But he didn't flinch. The clan leader sneered, "Human, if you wish to claim her side, prove it. Stand before me. Show this crowd if you have the strength to protect what you call worthy." Gasps filled the air. The crowd pressed closer, hungry for spectacle. Mothers pulled children back. Warriors smirked. Some laughed. "This will be over quickly." Her hands shook violently. Fear coiled tight in her stomach. She whispered to him desperately, "Don't, please don't, he will kill you, you cannot fight him." But the human turned his head slightly, his eyes calm, his voice steady. "If I walk away, they will never stop. If I stand, maybe they will learn." Before she could stop him, he stepped forward, facing the leader. His small frame looked fragile against the giant warrior's shadow, but he stood tall, unbending. The leader barked a laugh. "This is your champion? A frail outsider?" He spread his arms wide, showing his strength, his muscles flexed like stone. "You will fall with one strike." The human answered quietly, "Maybe, but I will still stand for her." The crowd erupted in noise, shouts, laughter, disbelief. Some even jeered, calling the human a fool. But inside her chest, something broke free. Tears burned her eyes as she realized he was willing to suffer, to bleed, for her. The leader lunged. His fist swung like a hammer. The human moved aside, barely in time. The crowd gasped. The fight had begun. Every blow the leader struck was heavy, powerful. The human dodged as best he could, His smaller size gave him speed, but each close call left him trembling. A fist grazed his side, and he stumbled. Blood already on his lip, her heart screamed. She wanted to rush forward, to shield him, but she was frozen, trapped between terror and awe. Still, the human rose each time. His breath ragged, his body bruised, but his eyes never left hers. Between blows, he called out, loud enough for the crowd to hear. You think she is weak? Then you are blind. You think she is worthless? Then you are fools. She has carried more pain than any of you, and still she walks, still she endures. That is strength. The leader roared with fury and struck again. The human fell to one knee, blood ran from his nose, his hands shook. The alien woman could not breathe. Her chest burned with helplessness. She wanted to cry out, to beg him to stop. But his voice came again, hoarse yet unbroken. I will not fall, not while she stands alone, not while she believes she is nothing. She is everything. The crowd fell silent. His words cracked the air like lightning. No one laughed now. No one whispered. They only stared. The leader raised his fist for the final blow, but the human did not back away. He lifted his chin, blood staining his face, and whispered, If you strike me down, they will still remember my words. The silence grew heavy. The leader froze, his arm trembling mid-air. For the first time, doubt flickered across his eyes. The weight of the crowd's gaze pressed against him. Slowly, he lowered his fist, his voice a low growl. Foolish. Human, you may not be strong, but your spirit is stubborn. He turned and spat to the side. This fight proves nothing, but let them remember your words if they wish. Gasps rippled. The fight was over. The human staggered back, his legs barely holding him. She rushed to his side, catching him before he fell. Her hands shook as she held him, his blood staining her skin. Her tears fell freely. Why? She whispered, her voice breaking. Why would you do this for me? His eyes, swollen and bruised, opened to meet hers. His voice was weak but certain. Because you are worth it. Her breath caught. Her heart thundered. She had never heard those words, never felt such truth. And as the crowd stood silent, watching the battered human in her arms, a shift began. Small, fragile, but undeniable. For the first time, she was not only the outcast mocked in the marketplace. She was the woman a human had fought for, and something told her the world would never be the same again. The fight had ended, but silence still clung to the air like smoke after a fire. The crowd that once laughed now stood frozen, eyes wide, whispers stuck in their throats. They had expected the human to fall. They had expected him to beg for mercy. Instead, he had bled, staggered, and still stood. Because of her, she held him tightly, her arms trembling as she tried to support his weight. His head rested weakly against her shoulder, his breath rough, his blood stained her hands, and the sight made her heart twist with guilt and awe. The clan leader had stepped back, but his words still echoed. This proves nothing, yet everyone in the square had seen enough. His fists could not erase the human's courage. His power could not silence the words spoken before them all. For the alien woman, it was too much. Her chest felt like it would burst. For so long she had hidden her tears, her fears, her shame. Now it all rose inside her like a storm she could no longer contain. She lifted her head, eyes burning, and faced the crowd. Her voice broke as she shouted, louder than she had ever spoken in her life. Why do you all mock me? Why do you call me worthless? What crime did I commit except being born as I am? Gasps rippled through the crowd. Never had she spoken so openly. Never had she dared to confront them. Her voice shook, but her words carried years of pain. You say I am too big, too different, too wrong, she continued. Her tears fell freely now, streaming down her cheeks. But you do not see the nights I cried alone. You do not see the days I worked until my hands bled. You only laugh. You only spit. You only crush me with your words. The people lowered their eyes. Some shifted uneasily. Some whispered, She speaks truth. Others frowned, not ready to let go of old cruelty. She turned to the human in her arms, his bloodied face, his swollen eyes, yet he was smiling faintly. He whispered hoarsely, "Keep speaking. They need to hear you." Her breath caught, her heart thundered. She closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them with new fire. "I believed you," she cried, facing the crowd again. "I believed your lies. I thought I was nothing. I thought I was broken. But look." She held the human's arm high, though it shook. "He stood for me. He bled for me. And he told me the truth. That I am not nothing. That I am worthy of love." The crowd stirred. Some mouths opened, some eyes softened. The weight of her words pressed against them harder than any blow. Her body shook as she shouted the words that had been buried inside for years. "I will not hide anymore. I will not bow my head in shame. If you see me as too big, too different, then so be it. But I will not believe your cruelty anymore." The human's weak hand squeezed hers, his voice a whisper meant for her alone. "That's it. That's your strength." Her tears blurred her vision, but her heart felt lighter. For the first time, she was not silent. For the first time, she let the world see her pain, her defiance, her worth. But not everyone was moved. A bitter voice rang out from the crowd. "You think one fool's words make you equal? You are still unfit. Even if you shout until the stars fall, your body will never give life. You will never be a true woman." Her breath stopped. The words struck like knives. The old wound reopened, deep and raw. She almost collapsed under it, until she felt the human shift weakly in her arms. With blood on his lips, he forced himself to speak. His voice cracked but carried through the square. "Enough. Do you not see? You measure her worth only by what you think her body should give, but her worth is greater than that. She gives strength. She gives kindness. She gives hope. Things none of you could give me when I came here alone." His words pierced the air, sharp and unrelenting. "You call her too big? Then she is a giant who carries more than any of you. You call her unfit? Then you are blind, because she has given me more than I ever dreamed. She gave me her trust, her heart, her tears. And to me that is life itself." Silence crushed the square. No one spoke. No one laughed. The alien woman's heart broke wide open. His words hit her deeper than any wound she had ever felt. Tears poured down her cheeks, not from shame now, but from something far more terrifying and beautiful. Love. She clutched him tighter, whispering through her sobs, "You'll break yourself for me. You'll face all of them for me." "Why?" The human's eyes fluttered, his strength fading, but his lips curved in the faintest smile. "Because you are worth every scar." Her tears fell onto his face. She pressed her forehead to his, trembling. Around them, the crowd stood silent, some ashamed, some thoughtful, and in that fragile moment, she realized something. This was the breaking point, not of her spirit, but of the chains that had bound her all her life. She would no longer live in silence. She would no longer believe the lies. She would no longer stand alone, because now she had him, and together they would rewrite everything. The square emptied slowly. The crowd melted away, whispering among themselves. Some still mocked. Some kept silent, and some, just some, looked at her with new eyes. But she didn't care anymore. Not tonight. Her whole world was in her arms. The human leaned against her chest, his body weak, his face bruised and bloodied, yet his eyes stayed, open, steady, watching her as if she were the only light left in the world. She carried him to her small home at the edge of the settlement. Her hands shook as she laid him down on a low bed. The sight of him hurt her more than any insult ever had. His cuts, his swollen lip, the way his body trembled from pain, she whispered, her voice breaking. "You should not have done this. You should not have risked yourself for me." The human winced but smiled faintly. "If I hadn't, they would never have heard the truth. They would never have seen you, not as they pretend, but as you are." Her throat tightened. Her heart felt too full for her chest. She reached out, gently pressing a cloth to his wounds. Her hands were larger than his whole face, but her touch was careful, trembling with fear of causing more pain. He caught her wrist weakly, his fingers small, but firm. His voice was soft. "Why are you crying?" She looked at him through her tears, her words tumbling out. Because I cannot give you what you deserve. I cannot give you children. I cannot give you a family. I am too big, too wrong. My people were right about that." Her voice broke. Her tears fell onto his chest. She pulled her hand back, covering her face, ashamed. "If you stay with me, you will never have the life you could have. You could find another, someone smaller, softer, who could bear you children. I cannot. I cannot." The human struggled to sit up, even in pain. He touched her hands and pulled them away from her face, his eyes locked on hers, filled with a strength that no wounds could break. "You are wrong," he said firmly. "A family is not only children. A family is love. A family is trust. A family is two people who choose each other, no matter what the world says." Her breath caught. His words struck deeper than any blade. She shook her head, still afraid. "But what if you regret it? What if one day you wake up and wish you had chosen someone else?" The human's voice softened, but it carried weight. "Then let me choose now, and hear me clearly. I choose you. Only you." Her heart thundered. Her chest burned. She could barely breathe under the weight of his words. For so long she had begged for even a scrap of kindness, and now here was a man who gave her love freely, without fear, without shame. She knelt beside the bed, her face close to his. Her tears fell onto his cheek as she whispered, "You choose me, even knowing what I am?" His lips curved into a small, pained smile. "I don't care what they call you. I don't care what they think. I care only for the woman in front of me, the one who cries when no one sees, the one who carries weight no one else can bear, the one who still has the gentlest hands I've ever felt." Her body trembled. Her heart finally broke free of the chains she had carried for a lifetime. In that moment, she no longer cared what her people thought, no longer cared about whispers or laughter. She cared only about him. Her hands cupped his face, her large fingers, trembling. She leaned down and pressed her forehead against his. Her tears slid between them and she whispered, "Then I choose too. I choose you, human. Even if the world stands against us, I will not let go." His hand brushed her cheek, weak but steady. "That's all I ever wanted." The fire inside her home burned low, casting shadows around them. But in the dim light, the fear that had haunted her for years faded, replaced by something stronger. Love. They sat in silence, the world outside forgotten. The only sound was the beating of two hearts, different, but now bound together. Later, when his strength allowed, he whispered again, "You believe your body is too wrong, too unfit, but trust me, love changes everything. Perhaps even what you thought impossible." Her breath caught, suspense stirred in her chest. His words planted a seed, fragile yet burning with hope. She looked into his eyes and, for the first time, she dared to imagine it. A future not of loneliness, but of love. Perhaps even more. And as she held him close, whispering her choice again and again, she knew that whatever came next, it would not be decided by shame or mockery. It would be decided by love. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The human healed slowly under her care. His bruises faded, his wounds closed, but the memory of that day in the square never left either of them. Her people still whispered, some mocked, some doubted, but the laughter no longer cut her the same way, because every night when she returned home, he was there, waiting with a smile, and every morning, when she opened her eyes, his hand was still wrapped around hers. Her heart had changed. She was no longer the silent woman who carried shame like a chain. She was the woman who had been chosen by him, the woman who had chosen him back. But deep inside, her old fear lingered. The fear that she could never give him what others called a true family. She tried to bury it, tried to silence it, but it remained, whispering in the quiet hours of night, until the day her body betrayed that fear. It began with weakness, a heaviness in her belly, At first she thought it was only exhaustion from long days, but when the weakness grew into strange changes, she could no longer deny it. One night, she sat by the fire, trembling, her hand pressed to her stomach. The human noticed at once, his brow furrowed. "What is it? Are you hurt?" Her lips shook. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "Something is different. Something I thought could never happen. Human, I think." Her voice broke. She took his hand and guided it to her belly. Her tears fell as she finished. "I think life stirs inside me." His breath caught. His eyes widened. For a long moment he said nothing, only stared at her. Then slowly, his face broke into the brightest, most disbelieving smile she had ever seen. You mean..." His voice trembled. He pressed his ear gently against her stomach as if listening for proof. His hands shook. "A child? Our child?" Her tears flowed harder. She nodded, choking on the words. "Yes, human. They told me I could never give life, that I was broken, that no man should want me. But here I am, carrying yours." The human pulled her into his arms, so tightly she could barely breathe. He laughed and cried at the same time. His voice broke with joy. "You are not broken. You were never broken. You are everything, and now you carry the proof of it." She sobbed against his chest, her large hands gripping him as if she would never let go. For the first time, her tears were not from sorrow, but from joy. The news spread quickly. Whispers swept through the settlement like wildfire. At first, many refused to believe. Impossible, they said. Her body was not made for it. But as her belly grew, disbelief turned to silence, and silence turned to shock. The same people who once laughed now stared with wide eyes. Some bowed their heads in shame. Some murmured apologies. Some still clung to pride, refusing to admit they were wrong. But none could deny what they saw. The unfit woman carried life within her. When the clan leader himself heard, he came to see her, his face stern, his voice low. "So it is true," he said, his eyes narrowed. "The human has done what none of us believed possible." For a long moment he stood in silence. Then, almost reluctantly, he bowed his head. "Perhaps we were blind. Perhaps strength is not only in battle but in the courage to love what others reject." Gasps rose from the crowd that gathered. Never had their leader spoken such words. Never had he bent even slightly, but he could not deny what was before his eyes. The alien woman stood tall, her hand resting on her round belly. The human's hand wrapped around hers. For the first time, she faced her people not with shame but with pride. Her voice was steady as she spoke. "You called me too big, too wrong, too worthless. You told me I could never give life, that I was broken. But now look at me. Look at us. I was never broken. I was only waiting for someone who could see me, truly see me." The crowd bowed their heads, some in guilt, some in respect. The human squeezed her hand, whispering so only she could hear. "They see you now, but I saw you first." Her heart swelled. Tears filled her eyes again. She turned and kissed his forehead, whispering, "And I will never forget that. Never." Months later, when their child came into the world, the settlement gathered again. This time not to mock, not to laugh, but to witness. The human cradled, the small infant in his arms, his eyes wet with wonder. The alien woman leaned against him, exhausted but radiant. Her tears streamed freely as she whispered, "Our child. Our proof." The people watched in silence. Some wept, some smiled faintly. The same voices that once condemned her now whispered a different word: miracle. And so, the woman who had lived her life as an outcast was no longer the one mocked in the square. She was the woman who defied every lie, the woman who carried love and gave life. The miracle was not only the child in her arms. The miracle was that she had finally believed what one human had seen all along, that she was worthy of love, that she was never broken, that she was enough. And as she held her child close, with the human's arms wrapped around both of them, she whispered the words that would echo for generations. They said I was too big, Too wrong. Not meant for love. But love proved them all wrong.